Blog Talk Radio.
Mi chiamo apura kanu apura kaitnut. Neye AKANFO NANASOM da medinde ojirafo kwesi ranehmpata Akan. Akwamumai na manuka etifi mu ojirafo. Ojiramai mu. Greetings to all Apurakani, Apurakaini people, meaning Africans, black people. Today is AKANFO NANASOM Day, Ancient, Authentic, Akan, Ancestral Religion Day. My name is Ojirafo Kwesi Ranehmpata Akan. Ojirafo of the Akwamu Nation in North America within Ojiramai, the purified nation Apurakani, Apurakaini people in the Western Hemisphere. Yet I say we thank you for tuning into the broadcast. Once again, we're opening up the chat room now. If you have any questions or comments and you'd like to interact in the chat room, you must log in as a user in order to interact in the chat room. If you do not have a username, you can sign up for one quickly in Blog Talk. If you would like to interact on the phone line, simply hit the number 1 so that we can see that your hand is raised. We typically have 4 broadcasts on a weekly basis. We are just getting back into our broadcasting. We took a short or a semi-short hiatus for a few months with regard to broadcasting. We had done 276 broadcasts. We took a few months off. We just started back broadcasting last week with Amain Sem, Affairs of the Nation on Yauda Thursday, and then a special broadcast we had on FIDA on Friday of Ojira. Typically, our broadcast schedule is 4 broadcasts on a weekly basis. We have AKANFO NANASOM, Ancient Authentic Akan, Ancestral Religion on Joda on Monday nights, where we deal specifically with the Akan expression of ancestral religion, Apurakani, the African ancestral religion, which we call NANASOM. We deal with the Akan expression on Monday nights, first and foremost because we are Akan. Secondly, because of the misinformation that has been propagated regarding Akan cosmology, religion, ritual practice, culture, and philosophy and so forth from not only individuals in the Western Hemisphere, but also misinformed, infected elders and eldresses and other individuals on the continent of Apuraka, whether it's in Ghana, Ivory Coast, and so forth. Those have been infected with white culture, Christianity, Islam, humanism, all sorts of nonsense. That infection bleeds into their presentation of Akan culture and corrupts their presentation. So we deal with our ancient, authentic Akan ancestral religion that goes back to our ancient blood circle from ancient Kanat, a title of ancient Nubia. We migrated from ancient Kanat, the Kan land, thousands of years ago to the western part of the continent, reestablished Akana civilization, the ancient empire of Akana or Ghana, a couple of thousand years ago. 1,000 years later, some of our people migrated from that region because of Muslim invasions, moved towards the savanna regions and into the forest belt of contemporary Côte d'Ivoire, Ivory Coast, and contemporary Ghana. A few hundred years after that, some of our people were taken from those regions and forced into North Central South America, the Caribbean, and Europe during the Musuo Kessier, the Great Perversity, the enslavement era. This is how some of us ended up in the Western Hemisphere as Akan people. However, we maintained our ancestral religious traditions in our blood circle. So we continue to practice our Akan traditions, manifest as Winti in Suriname in South America, manifest as Obia in Jamaica, manifest as hoodoo in North America. Hoodoo coming from the Akan term undu, meaning medicine from roots, trees, plant life, also to become heavy with the spirit through spirit possession. So we maintained our ancestral religious practices, and it is through the maintenance of our ancestral religious practices that we waged war against the whites and their offspring. We were empowered and guided to wage war effectively through metal armaments, as well as chemical and biological warfare to force the end of enslavement in the Western Hemisphere. So we deal with all of these different things on AKANFO NANASOM, talking about the nature and function of the Obosom, the deities, forces in nature, the nature and function of the NANASOM, Nsamanto, the spiritually cultivated ancestresses and ancestors, the nature and function of Nyamewa, and Nyame, the great mother and great father, supreme being, and Yonkumton, and Yonkumton, the creator and creatress, who are subordinate to the supreme being and the various divinities, and so forth. On Abinada Tuesday nights, we have Ojira, which means purification. We deal not only with the Akan expression of ancestral religion, but Afurakani ancestral religion in general, and how it impacts every aspect of our lives. Ancestral religion, or NANASOM, what we call ancestral religion, Afurakani, or African ancestral religion, in essence is the ritual incorporation of divine law and the ritual restoration of divine balance. That means through ritual we incorporate those things, objects, deeds, and entities we need to incorporate in order to harmonize our thoughts, intentions, and actions with divine order. And through ritual, we reject those things, objects, deeds, and entities we need to reject in order to restore balance to our thoughts, intentions, and actions, and thus restore balance to our lives and restore order to our lives. So the ritual incorporation of divine law and the ritual restoration of divine balance, these are the expansive and contracted poles of ancestral religion. Through Ojira, purification, we operationalize NANASOM. Purification operationalizes our practice of ritually incorporating divine law and ritually restoring divine balance. So this is what we talk about. We talk about our ancestral religious culture, practices, cosmology, and so forth, going back to ancient Khanit and Kemet all the way to West Central South Africa, into the Western Hemisphere. Our ancestral religion impacts every aspect of our lives. When we align our thoughts, intentions, and actions with divine order, every moment of every day we're engaged in our Amandre, our ancestral culture. Our ancestral culture's Afurakani people is to align every thought, every intention, every action, every moment of every day with divine order. And when we make mistakes, legitimate mistakes, we engage the ritual process to incorporate law ritually and restore balance ritually so that we can get back on track of executing our divine function in creation and aligning every thought, intention, and action with divine order every moment of every day. So therefore, ancestral religion impacts every aspect of our lives as we seek to execute our function in creation in harmony with divine order every moment of every day, every thought, every intention, and every action. So this is what we deal with on Ojira. Of course, we deal with ancient texts and orature from ancient Kemet as well as across the continent and in the Western Hemisphere. On Akwuda Wednesday nights, we have Egua Marketplace Day. We showcase Afurakani businesses, organizations, and institutions, those who are serving the Afurakani community in a positive capacity, those who maintain their ancestral religious values in the context of that service. We've showcased a number of businesses, organizations, and institutions. We've also published our Okom Economic Development Model, which is an economic development model rooted in our ancestral religious values. You can download that free document. And part of that process within Okom is our strategy of starving the beast, feeding the pride. That means you make an assessment on a weekly basis to determine what funds you would have potentially wasted with the whites and their offspring, and you starve the beast and feed the pride. You redirect those funds away from the white businesses and direct them to the business, organization, or institution of the week. We have identified one business, organization, or institution per week. When you direct funds direct into that business, when you have 1,000 people who would redirect $10 that they would have wasted at a white business and direct it to the business, organization, or institution of the week, that is an infusion of $10,000 within a black business, taken away from the white businesses and placed within a black business, which allows them within the course of 7 days to expand their products and services to us, hire full-time employees immediately and permanently within the business. And of course, it's a win-win situation. If we do not engage that process, then by default, we leave that $10,000 and of course, billions of dollars in the hands of our enemies, the whites and their offspring, and then we actually are in the process of financing our own oppression. So we starve the beast and feed the pride. So we deal with that on Marketplace Day, Egwada, Wednesday nights, Awukuda, Kuada, Wednesday nights. On Yauda, Thursday nights, which is also Yada, Abada, we have Amain Sem, Affairs of the Nation. So we deal with specific issues that we confront as Afurakani people on a daily basis, and how to approach these issues and resolve these issues from an Amaniye perspective, a nationist perspective. We talk about Amaniye nationism, Afurakani, African black nationism, which is the purification of nationalism. We have a religious and sus-religious foundation and a full understanding of what a nation and Oman is. A nation and Oman is a living, breathing entity. We are components of that living, breathing entity which are governed by specific abosom, when we align ourselves with the force of nature and the forces of nature that govern this entity. When we move to a specific region of the Earth Mother, we're drawn to a specific region of the Earth Mother, a specific region of her body, drawn by her. We're drawn by our ancestresses and ancestors to that region to blend ancestral blood circles, bringing ancestresses and ancestors back to our matriclans and patriclans, blending these ancestral blood circles on a specific region of the Earth Mother's body that radiates at a frequency that's different from other regions of the Earth Mother's body. We align with the abosom, the Orisha, the Vodou, the divinities that manifest their unique expressions in that specific region of the Earth Mother. We take that energy in its unique configuration as we operate and utilize the plant life and animal life and mineral life and so forth in that specific region of the Earth Mother in the context of blended ancestral blood circles in that region. Then we have forged a locative identity, a unique locative identity. Our Afurakani ancestral inheritance, spirit genetic inheritance, being born and reborn through specific blood circles, but blending those blood circles as a collective within a specific region of the Earth Mother's body, governed by the abosom and their unique manifestation in that region. So we forge a unique identity, a locative identity. This is why we refer to ourselves as Ujiraman, the purified Ujira Oman nation, Oman in the land of the setting sun, the West. Ujiraman is the purified nation, Afurakani people in the Western Hemisphere. Those of us who are descendants of those who were forced into the Western Hemisphere during the Musuo Kesi, the Great Perversity, the enslavement era, but who maintained our ancestral religious traditions, waged war against the whites and their offspring, forced the end of enslavement, established independent sovereign nations, black towns, and so forth. Those are the people who actually freed themselves during enslavement, forced the end of enslavement, who were successful at liberation in their lifetime. We follow their example, their successful example. We don't follow philosophies of misguided individuals, whether they were well-meaning or not, who have never freed anyone with their philosophies, with their secular nationalism and so forth, who have never freed anyone, never achieved that goal. The only people who actually freed themselves from enslavement during their lifetimes, established independent sovereign towns and defended them against the whites and their offspring during their lifetimes, freeing themselves from enslavement and after the end of enslavement, are those who maintain their ancestral religious traditions, our traditions. We follow those examples because they're the only successful examples. This is what nationism is dealing with. So this is what we deal with on Yauda Thursday nights. So tonight we're going to get into our publication. We'll put the link in the chat room. For those who just tuned in, if you have a question or comment in the chat room, you must log in as a user. If you don't have a username, you can sign up for one quickly in Blog Talk. If you have any questions or comment on the phone line, hit the number 1 so that we can see that your hand is raised. And we just put the link in the chat room. We recently published a book, Tehuti, Sankofawaa and Ifa, Male Deity of Divine Wisdom and Divination in Akan, Fon Yoruba. Now, Let's get into this information. We have, of course, the ebook version and the softcover version. You can download. We just put the link to the page where you can download the ebook version. As with all of our 29 books, the ebook versions of all of our books are free downloads, and of course, we sell the softcover version as well. Now, this particular book we released on September 16th. In Akwamu and Amarukai Tifimu, the Akwamu Nation in North America. And Akwamu is a subgroup of the larger Akan group. The Akan ethnic group, there are over 20 million Akan people in Ghana and Ivory Coast, one of the largest groups on the continent, and of course, one of the largest groups from which our people were taken away and forced into the Western Hemisphere. Akan and Yoruba, Efe, Fon, Igbo, Mindi, Bakongo, and so forth. These are these large groups that many of our people come from. Akan is one of those large groups. A subgroup of the Akan ethnic group is Akwamu. We are Akwamu people in North America. So this is why we call ourselves Akwamu Mai Amarukai Tifimu, and you can read about that on our website. But in Akwamu Mai, in the Akwamu Nation, within North America, we have our New Year's celebration. It's calibrated to the autumn equinox, the so-called autumn equinox, the first day of fall. That's the end of the warm cycle. It is the harvest time, but it's also the seeding time. It's the beginning of the conception cycle. The end of one, the beginning of a new cycle. So we calibrate our New Year's observance at that time. Most Akan people traditionally have New Year's observance around August, September, October. It switches depending on the continent. Here in North America, it is calibrated towards the equinox, the balancing point of the year. This is how we operate. We have a 7-day New Year observance. It goes from September 16th through the 22nd or September 17th through the 23rd, depending on the year, depending on what day the Atemet, or the beginning of Pobere fall is. So this year, it was September 16th through the 22nd, a 7-day New Year observance. The 7th day, September 22nd, was a Fida, which was a Friday. That was the first day of Pobere, of the fall, autumn, Atemet. It was the first day, full day of the equinox, the balancing point of the year, the second balance, or the first balancing point of the year. And that was our New Year's Day of our New Year 13,018. We are in the midst of a 26,000-year cycle, hence the year's beginning with 13,000. Of course, we don't track time based on the fictional cartoon character who never existed, Jesus, Yeshua, as well as Muhammad, and these other fictional cartoon characters who never existed of any race or in any form whatsoever. We track time based on real cycles. So this is our year 13,018. This year was significant for a couple of reasons. So when we started our New Year celebration, September 16th, that was the first day, and the last day we said September 22nd. The last day was a Fida, which is a Friday. The first day of our 7-day New Year celebration was September 16th, which was a Meminida, which is a Saturday. We published this book and completed this book on that Meminida, on that Saturday. Each day of the week in our Akan tradition is governed by male and female Obosom, deities, forces in nature that animate the solar, lunar, or planetary bodies that govern the 7-day week. On Saturday, the male divinity is Amen Min, as he's called in ancient Kemet, also called Amen Min in Akan. The female divinity is the form of Het Heru called Min Menit or Min Minat in ancient Kemet. She's called Amen Miniwa in Akan. She also has the title Het Heru or Het Heru in ancient Kemet. She has the same title Che as it's pronounced in Akan. So on Saturday or Meminida, these are the two divinities governing that particular day. So it's called Meminida, which is Saturday, the day of Amen Min or Amen Miniwa. But during our 7-day New Year's observance, each day of the week is not only does it have its regular name, like today is Joda, which is Monday, the day of Adjo and Adjua, the male and female divinities, Al-Sar and Al-Set, when they operate through the moon, Adjo and Adjua. So it's Jo-Da, the day or Da of Adjo and Adjua. Each day of the week has their own name named after the divinities, but during our 7-day observance, each day of the week has an additional sacred name for the 7-day New Year observance. Each day of the week of our 7-day observance, because our 7-day observance is called Obrajira, which means a life purification, NANASOM, ancestral service, celebration, observance. We have 7 principal values of 7 Mbe, 7 proverbs, divine wisdom teachings that are associated with each day of the week and carry the energy of the Obosom that govern each day of the week. And we adhere to those Mbe every day of the 7-day observance. When you look at, for example, the celebration Kwanzaa with 7 days and 7 principles and so forth, and at the end of the year, into the beginning of the new year for the Gregorian white calendar new year that they placed it at, one of the inspirations for that 7-day new year observance with those 7 principal values and so forth, you'll see that they use the Akan Ojira, or purification ceremony, New Yam celebration, which is Ojira means purification. That is our 7-day New Year observance. So on the continent of Africa, they have a 7-day Ojira or New Year celebration, New Yam celebration. Here in North America, we have our 7-day Obrajira New Year celebration. But when we talk about 7 principal values or Mbe or proverbs, divine wisdom teachings associated with each day, is because it's connected to the Obosom, the divinities that govern the day. And those teachings are associated with that kind of energy. On the Minida Saturday, it's not only called Minida, but it's also called Sankofa Jira Da, or Sankofa Jira Day, the day of Sankofa Jira. And the Ebe, or the proverb associated with the Saturday within our 7-day New Year observance, is Sankofa Jira Subain Apurakanu Apuraikainura Apurakapo Apuraikaipo, which means Sankofa Jira. Sankofa purifies the character of Apuraikani people. The process of Sankofa purifies our character. So we focus on that reality on that particular day during the 7-day week. The ritual practices and so forth revolve around that proverbial divine ancestral wisdom teaching. Sankofa Jira Subain Apurakapo Apuraikaipo. Sankofa purifies the character of Afrikani people. When we internalize that ritually, and we move forward in that understanding, renewed understanding throughout the next year cycle. We finished the book in the Nsamanfo, the NANASOM Nsamanfo, the spiritually cultivated ancestresses and ancestors directed us to write the book. We were not planning to write the book, but they directed us to write the book and make sure it was completed on Sankofa Jira Da. So this book on Sankofa and Tehuti, the deity Tehuti, who is actually the deity Sankofa. The book was completed on Sankofa Jira Da, Sankofa Purifies Day, or Sankofa Purification Day, which is significant for us. And we mentioned this in the introduction to the book. It was also very important when we're talking about the Obosom and talking about purification. The term Adebisa, which is divination in Akan tradition. Tehuti is the male force of divine wisdom and divination. So on Sankofa Jira Da, or Sankofa Jira Day, Sankofa Purifies Day, we're talking about Tehuti and Sankofa. We also, of course, are talking about divination, divine wisdom, seeing into the different areas of life and drawing out what needs to be done, what needs to be accepted, what needs to be rejected, what's in harmony with order, what's not in harmony with order, and so forth. Now, we have a specific form of Adebisa within Akwamu Mana Marokai Tifimu, the Akwamu Nation in North America. And in this particular, in last year, which was 13,017, which for us ended on September 22nd, because we're in 13,018 now. We're almost 3 months into 13,018, but previous to September 22nd, we were still in 13,017. That was the 20th anniversary of the manifestation or bringing forth of our specific form of adebisa or divination within Akan. So this is one of the reasons also why they wanted us to produce this book on Tehuti, the male divinity of divine wisdom and divination, also showing that he is Sankofawaa, the deity Sankofawaa, is released on Sankofa Jirada at the end of 13,017, the end of one cycle and the beginning of a new cycle. And as you read the book, and we can go through important, major points in the book, as you read through it, you have a much better understanding and clarity with regard to the nature of the text and the importance of the text. Now, when you look at these Sankofa symbols, you see the bird looking back with the egg in its mouth, and you also see the other Sankofa symbol. These symbols are not just Akan, adinkra symbols, which they are, but the Akan people have used these symbols for thousands of years. You find these symbols in the medutu, the hieroglyphs of ancient Kemet. There are hundreds of adinkra symbols. You find these root symbols in the medutu, the hieroglyphs of ancient Kemet. Thousands of years ago, when we migrated west, a couple of thousand years ago, we carried the symbols with us. You'll find that some of our people who are west of Kemet, so-called Libya, North Africa, prior to the whites and their offspring invading those areas, that is part of Western Khanate, or so-called Nubia, but the Khan land, Kanat land, the Kahnu people. Sometimes they mispronounce that Tehenu or Tahenu, but it's really Kahnu, the Khan people, and so forth. West of Kemet, you have the Khan people, or Kanat, south of Kemet, the southern Nubians, the western Nubians, and so forth. Some of our people remain west of Kemet in North Africa. Some of our people kept moving west and established the Empire of Ghana. Some of the ones who stayed in North Africa, some of those people amongst the Tuareg people are those ancient Akan cousins. When you look in the Tifinagh script of the Tuareg people, and we're not talking about those whites who invaded and polluted the blood circle. You have whites who invaded, polluted the blood circle, and started calling themselves Tuareg. That's no different than white people invading ancient Kemet, white Arabs, and start calling themselves Egyptians. The real Egyptians are the black people who still live in Kemet. The whites are the invaders. The real Tuareg Berbers are the black Tuareg Berbers. The Edibrifo, which is a title of black people in Akan, they're the Bribri people, or Berber people, Bribri people, Tuareg, Berbers, and so forth. The black ones are the originals. Those are some of those Akan cousins. In the Tifinagh script of the Tuareg, you will find all of the gold weight symbols and all of the adinkra symbols that you find in Akan culture. You find them in the Tifinagh script as well. So you find them in the medutu, you find them in the Tifinagh script, you find them as Akan adinkra symbols. And we bring them to the forest belts, to the regions of contemporary Cote d'Ivoire, Ivory Coast, and Ghana. Over 1,000 years ago, they've been there the whole time. But then when our people were forced into North Central South America, the Caribbean, and Europe, we carried the symbols with us. You look in Suriname, you find Akan adinkra symbols wherever people were enslaved. You look in Jamaica and other parts of the Caribbean, you find Akan adinkra symbols. And in North America, in the Hoodoo tradition, you find Akan adinkra symbols everywhere black people, Akan people, were enslaved. And they are part of the ritual practice within Hoodoo. They're in the gates, the ironworks, they're in the doors, they're in windows, they're on ritual implements and so forth. You'll find them everywhere. So when we use adinkra symbols in the Hoodoo tradition, which is the Akan tradition in North America, ancient authentic Akan ancestral religion, this is not the case of black people in North America trying to find themselves. They go read up on some culture in Ghana and West Africa, and they say, oh, I like adinkra symbols, I'm going to take these on and start utilizing them, and they're trying to imitate Akan people in Ghana and taking on Akan names and just imitating people on the continent. That's not what's happening. That's never been what's happening over here. we've continued to maintain the Kraken or soul names like Kwame and Kojo and Akosua and Essie and Efi and so forth. We've maintained them for hundreds of years since we've been here. We've been using adinkra symbols for over 300 years. Ever since we arrived on these shores, we never stopped using them. So adinkra symbols are not the property of Akan people on the continent. They are ours just as much as they are theirs, because we never stopped using them, and we have evidence of that. Now, as we say in the text, they've been utilized ritually. The specific geometric forms comprising each symbol radiates a unique configuration of energy which resonates at the frequency of the specific Obosom, the deity. The adinkra symbols thus become shrines in miniature. Any geometric form, when you invest life force energy within that geometric form and it circulates within that geometric form, it generates and then emanates a specific configuration of energy. If you send energy through a circular form, it creates a whirlwind kind of energy. If you send energy or project energy into a triangular form or octagon shape or some combination of these different forms, based on the form, as energy is circulating through these different geometric shapes, there's a specific, unique configuration of energy emanating from that geometric form based on its structure. That unique configuration of energy, when the forms are properly constructed under the dictates of the Obosom, the deities, then those geometric forms resonate at the frequency of the Obosom that directed you to create that geometric form. So it becomes a shrine for them. It radiates their energy, their unique energy complex, and then they can take up residence in that geometric form and communicate with you through that geometric form. This is what we do in hoodoo. This is what we do in all of our various traditions, including voodoo and juju and so forth. This is what our adinkra symbols are. This is what bebes are in Vodun. This is what medutu are. The symbols themselves, the geometric forms themselves, are shrines in miniature, radiating the energy and resonating the energy and resounding the energy of the Obosom, who directed us to construct these unique geometric forms. And the same thing with the NANASOM, the spiritually cultivated ancestresses and ancestors. Sankofa means to return, go, and grasp. Sankofa, from your ancestral past, in order to bring balance to life circumstances in the present and try to balance future. It's one of those energetic matrices, that Sankofa symbol, drawing the Obosom and NANASOM to us, including in North America, in the hoodoo tradition. So when we talk about this symbol, it's part of our Adebisa, or divinatory practice, oracular divination practice, and that's key. All these components are key to understanding the coming into being of this book and why it's significant and why it's groundbreaking. Now let's get into the details. That's part of the introduction within the book, and all that detailed information is in the introduction. Now let's get into who this divinity is. We often hear about Sankofa, return, go, and grasp. There are hundreds of adinkra symbols, but there are two major symbols that are ubiquitous with regard to adinkra symbols beyond all of the others. The J Nyame Wa Nyame symbol is one of them, but Sankofa in its two major forms, the bird looking back, as well as the form that looks like it's similar to a heart structure, the two forms of Sankofa, you find those images more so than those adinkra symbols more represented and replicated more so than any of the other symbols combined. There is a reason for that. Sankofa is not simply a symbol, but Sankofa, first and foremost, is a deity. Nana Sankofa. Tehuti is that deity. And this is why we show Tehuti, Sankofa, Fa, and Ifa. We're showing the connection between Sankofa, the divinity of wisdom, and Akan, Fa, the divinity of wisdom in Vodun, Ifa, the divinity of wisdom in the Yoruba tradition, the male divinity, and we're going to talk about the female divinity, Seshat, as well, because she's talked about in the book as well. You see the image of the habui bird, the sacred, quote-unquote, ibis or crane, Tehuti, the body of a male with the head of the habui bird. You see the habui bird turning back, looking back, and so forth. In the Sankofa form, returning, going, and grasping. And then you see one of the Abramu, one of the Akan gold weights with the form of the sacred Sankofa bird. And he's looking back, turning back. This is the ancient bird. This is the original bird. The original Sankofa bird is the habui bird of Tehuti and Seshat. They're male and female habui birds, or ibis birds, and so forth. The original Sankofa bird is Tehuti. The Tek bird and so forth, it is Tehuti on the male side, Seshat on the female side, and this is what we're showing here. And until we publish the information, people in scholars here in the Western Hemisphere were unaware of this. Scholars in Ghana, Ivory Coast were unaware of it as well. Let's get into the etymology, the medutu, the hieroglyphs, and so forth. The term for nose in our ancestral language of Kemet, spelled in the medutu with the consonants F, N, and T, fenne, fenne, and you see the horned viper, F, the wavy line for the N, and the loaf for the T, with the determinative of a nose. So the term for nose is fenne, fenne. If Egyptologists are unsure of the vocalization of the term, they just have the consonants. They'll sometimes say that there are no vowels in the language of Kemet, which is totally inaccurate because we've proven thousands of times that specific medutu represent the different vowel sounds, and we can show that in the vocalizations of the Akan language of these various terms. So, but when they're unsure of the vocalization of a term, they just insert an E in between the consonants. If you look here at the entry from the hieroglyphic dictionary, fenne, the consonantal structure is SNT, but they stick an E in between it, fent or fenne. But if you look at the Coptic variation, Coptic is a late Kemet dialect that came into usage about 2,000 years ago. In the Coptic dialect, fenne, meaning fent or fenne, meaning nose, in Coptic becomes shin, shinni, or shint, and it's shown in Coptic, so we show that. That's very important, because another form in the ancient dialect for nose, kent, and we show that here, the KH symbol, the N, and the T with the nose as a determinative once again. So you have two forms of the term nose in ancient Kemet. Fenne or fent with an F, and shinni or shent with the KH sound, which is the cup sound or the chet sound. Fenne with an F, nose, shinni, nose. That's important. If the Akan language is directly derived and descendant of the language of ancient Kemet, then the word for nose in Akan should match the nose that you find in the hieroglyphic dictionary. If you look, for example, the term for eye, like the eyes in your face. In Akan, it's eni, A-N-I, eni. If you look in the medutu, the hieroglyphs of ancient Kemet, eni is the word for eye. If you look in the Akan language, the term for mouth is ano, ano. If you look in the language of ancient Kemet, in the medutu, the word for mouth is aro. So now we get to nose. In ancient Kemet, you have the term fenne, which means nose, but you also have the variation shinni, which means nose. Well, let's look in the Akan dictionary, and what is the term for nose? There's a consonantal structure, SW, in Akan, but in one Akan dialect, but in another Akan dialect, the SW is written as HW. So the word for nose is fwenne, S-W-E-N, fwenne or fwen, fwenne. But then in another Akan dialect, it's shwenne, shwenne. The HW sounds kind of like a SHW. So you have fwenne for nose and shwenne for nose. Two different forms for the word nose. In ancient Kemet, the word for nose is fenne, but then you also have the term shinni for nose. In Akan, you have fwenne, like F-W-E-N-E, fwenne, but then you also have Trini for nose. So just like with the term eye, just like the term mouth, and two different variations of the term nose, each one you have in the Akan language. And of course, we can show that thousands, in fact, every one of the root words you find in the hieroglyphic dictionary in the language of ancient Kemet, every one of them, thousands of them, not just a few for the names of body parts, but every root word you find in the language of Kemet, all of them are found in the Akan language, including the names of deities and their functions and their ritual colors and so forth. Now, that's the first key. Fenni, nose, Shinni, nose in Kemet. Fwenni, nose in Akan, and also Shrinni, nose in Akan. Why is that important for the term nose? Fenni or Fen, meaning nose. You have another term, Fwet. The root of the term Fenni or Fen is Fwet. And Akan, that has another meaning as well. We said the FW and the HW, Fwet and Shwet, are two dialectical variants of the same term. This is where you get Fwenni, FW, and Shwenni, or Fwenni, HW. Now, that's FWE, HWE, FWE, Fwet, HWE, Shwet, and so forth. Now we have another term, HWA, Shwet, Shwat, and SWA. Fwat means to smell or scent, but it also means to scrape or to scratch. Fwat, SWA, to scrape or to scratch, and also to smell or to scent. SWA, fwat, and also the variation HWA, fwat, means the same thing. However, as you see, and you'll see this is on page 6, that same term to scrape or to scratch, fwat, FWA, as well as HWA, fwat, there's another variation where it's fwet, which means the same thing, to scrape or to scratch. The A and the E are switched dialectically. And to pause for a second, if you look in the Akwamu Akan dialect, a female born on Friday is Afua, and the Fanti dialect is Efua. A female born on Wednesday in Akwamu dialect is Akua, and the Fanti dialect is Ekua. In the Akwamu dialect, a woman of higher status is called Awura, Awura. And of course, that's the same as Wurat in ancient Kemet, a great one. Awura in Akan for a woman of higher social status. Awura in the Akwamu dialect. In the Fanti dialect is Ewuraba. So you have Akua, Ekua, Afua, Efua. Awura, Ewuraba. There's a switch between the A and the E in these names. It's the same thing here. Fwa, meaning to scrape or scratch, whether it's an FW, fwa, or the HW, fwa. But then there's another variation, kwet, which means to scrape or to scratch. That's key, because the root of the nose, fwenni, is fwet, meaning to scrape or to scratch. It's the root of the meaning nose. The nose is highly sensitive, especially in certain animals. It allows one to perceive even when one is not able to see. If one is in darkness, they may not see that a certain food has spoiled. However, they can smell it. One can smell that something is burning or on fire before arriving at the location of the fire. The drawing in of breath is a gathering or scraping. Fwet, to gather, to scrape. Yet it is also the working the sensory receptors in the nose to allow a gathering or scraping of data, information, so that one can discern properly and make proper judgments. We thus have the related term fwet, also meaning to look, examine, see, perceive, to learn, infer, to know. The reduplication of fwet is fwet, meaning to look repeatedly, intensely, to look, fwet. So fwet meaning to scrape or scratch, fwet meaning to look, to see, to look intensely into something, Fwet is the root of Fwenni, because your nose is the thing that perceives even when you can't see. It can scrape, fwet, scratch, fwet, look, fwet, gather information. It's bringing in, it can smell, it can sense, it can perceive. Of course, dogs have a very high sense of smell and so forth, and they can perceive different things. They can track down someone who's run away and so forth, or escaped from prison or something like that. They put the dogs on the trails to get that smell, that scent, and they can track them. Very important. So fwet, meaning to scrape or scratch. Fwet, meaning to look, to see, to perceive, to examine, to infer, to know. It's the root of fwenni, the nose. They're all connected. So our words are all built upon one another. The roots are built upon a divine function. Now, the key here is that the nose, fwenni, allows one to smell, perceive, gather, fwet, as well as fwa in the different dialects, through scraping, gathering. The fwenni, the nose, allows you to gather, fwent, to scrape, fwent, to see, fwent, also fwa. It is key because of an important title of the Obosom, the god Tehuti in ancient Kemet. The term fenni, meaning nose, is a title of Tehuti in ancient Kemet. Fenni, or fenniti, which means he of the nose. Fent, or fenni, he of the nose, and it shows Tehuti, one of the 42 judges in the Hall of Asar, a title of Tehuti. Fenni, or fent, and it's also pronounced fant, meaning nose, and we show that later in the book. So fant, or fent, meaning he of the nose. When you look, of course, at the deity, he is the crane-headed divinity, the one of the long nose, the one that scrapes or scratches and so forth, which we will get into. That is a title of Tehuti. Fent, or fent, fenni, or fent, in another form of the dialect, fant. In Akan, that's fwent, or fwa, the divinity. And for those who are jumping ahead, you can see that Tehuti is the male divinity of divine wisdom, fa, ifa in Yoruba, fa in Vodun, fwa, or fwent. In Akan, he who perceives, he of the nose. So the title Tehuti, fant, or fanti, fant, he's called fat in ancient Kemet, he's called fa in Vodun, he's called ifa in Yoruba, he's called afa in Igbo, he's called fwa, or fwet in Akan. And this is why we have fwa, and as we show here, a dialectical variant of fwet. We show the connection between fwet and fwa. Just like we have afur, efur, akur, ekur, awura, ewura, ewuraba, and so forth, fwa and fwet. But in this context, fwa, a title of Tehuti, the Obosom of divine wisdom, he of the nose. And then fwa fo, or fwet fo, one of those people who perceive, looks, searches, investigates, intense investigation. We're talking about divination here. And a fwetfo, looker, overseer, superintendent, surveyor, inspector, and so forth. Fwet, doubling it to look repeatedly and intensely. And later on in the appendix, we show the adinkra symbol, fwet, and dria, which is the divining rod, and so forth, showing that the fwet, or the fwa function of this divinity is the one who divines, a title of Tehuti. Fwa in Akan, fant, or fent in ancient Kemet, fa in Vodun, ifa in Yoruba, the one who scrapes, gathers information, perceives, looks intensely, investigates, divines, and so forth. And we're going to get into this whole notion of scraping very quickly. The next title of Tehuti in Akan, Bre Chiri Hunwate, another title of Tehuti. This is a title defining this Obosom, this divinity, as the omniscient one, specifically he who turns back behind Bre Chiri to see Hunu, creation, or the great entity. Adie, so Bre Chiri Hunwatie is he who turns back or behind, looking back, Bre Chiri, so he can see Hunu, creation, and see into the creation, the divine, the great entity, idea. And as you can see already, the one who looks to the past looks behind, Tehuti, the all-knowing one. He can go back in the past, the ancestral realm, the spirit realm, origin, source of creation, and see why things have manifested in the present and what will manifest in creation in the future. This is a function of what is called adinkra, or divination in Akan culture, the capacity to see within the circumstances of the present, the events that will shape the future, informed by spirits of the past in the sense of behind ancestresses and ancestors, the deities. One can see what ancestral spirits and deities are, quote unquote, behind the shaping of events, and thus what is needed to preserve order or restore order to our lives. The term Sankofa is rooted in this divinatory function. The Akan ebe or proverb is often quoted. Say, well, wedisi nawo Sankofa yin chi. If you forget and you return, sign, go, ko, and grasp fa from your ancestral past, it is not hated, it is not taboo. When we have a problem, we're directed to return, go, and grasp from our past in order to remedy issues in the present and avoid negativity in the future, to navigate our way away from that. On a mundane level, if you lost your keys, you engage the Sankofa process mentally. To remedy the situation, you return, sign, go, call, and grasp fa from your past, your memory. You retrace your steps. You recall what areas of the home you were previously in and what led up to the current situation. When you retrace your steps, so Sankofa, return, go, and grasp mentally, you then recall where you previously set your keys down. You can then proceed to retrieve them. On a spiritual level, entering the ancestral realm to communicate with those from the past, the NANASOM Insamanso, our spiritually cultivated ancestresses and ancestors, and to become empowered by the Obosom, the deities, to forge a new path for the future, including the future reincarnation of those same ancestresses and ancestors, is the key to divination. It is returning to, going, quote-unquote, back to the ancestral realm, the source of all things, formed by Inyamewa, Inyame, the Supreme Being, Amenet and Amen. The past or source informs the present and future in a cyclical manner. Reincarnation, a past spirit returning Sankofa from the source to live in the present is proof of this. This is confirmed through ancestral communication, inclusive of Akan, or spirit possession, communicating in real time the present with ancestral spirits who lived upon our Sase earth in the past and who will reincarnate in the future. Now, we have the term in Akan, te, T-E, te, to perceive by the nerves of sensation, to feel, to perceive within oneself, to be affected by, and so forth. Tehuti as brechiri hunwate is also called te in Akan. Te means to understand, perceive, to know. Why is that important? Why are we given these different titles? We just showed that brechiri hunwate means the one who goes behind so that he can see what's in creation. That's a definition of Sankofa. And that's his title, another title of Tehuti in Akan. Now, another title of Tehuti is Tek. In Akan, the title of the deity is derived from the exact same title of Tehuti in Kemet, which is Tek. T-E-K-H, Tek. And it becomes Tek in Akan. One more title of Tehuti. We already saw him as Fent or Font, he of the nose, the great nose, that entity or organ that perceives and can scrape and understand and look what's under and investigate and so forth. We talk about his title, Brechiri Humwate, which is the one who goes in the past so he can see what's in creation. Now, another title, Tet, in Akan, meaning to perceive, to understand. He has that same title in ancient Kemet, Tet. In the medutu, what is the Tet? The plummet, the little weight which served on the tongue of the scales of balance, or where, the pointer of the scales. But then Tek, or Teki, is the ibis, the crane, Tek, or Teki, meaning like Teki or Tekish, Teki, he of the Tek. Our title of Tehuti is regulator of the times and the seasons. So in Akan, he's called Tet. In ancient Kemet, he's called Tet as well. It's not only a title of Tehuti, the divinity, but also a title of the animal totem, the Achinebois, the Habui bird, so-called ibis or crane itself. In the weighing of the heart, Tehuti is taking note of the weighing and the results. And that's why they said Tet means to regulate the times and the seasons, and the little plummet, the Tet, is balancing and weighing the heart against the feather. That's the instrument. Tehuti, when you see this image of him at the scales, when Ani is having his heart weighed against the feather, Tehuti is taking note of the weighing so he can make a judgment, a decision to see if the heart balances out the feather. He's executing his Tet function here. In the talking drum text of Akan culture, that means when drumming is taking place, the specific drum beats go along with the language. So people can drum and speak through the drumming. The vowel sounds, the consonant sounds, and so forth, the tonal changes are mimicked through the proper drum usage, and therefore the drums can speak, the talking drums. So people can be drumming blocks away or a mile away. You can hear the drumming, and they're speaking through the drums. And this is not only Akan culture, but across the board wherever our people are. Of course, we use drums to communicate here in North America, to communicate messages. When we were going to revolt from the whites in Arab Spring, this is why they outlawed the drum, because they at some point realized we were using the drums to speak to one another, speak the language. One of the talking drum texts in Akan culture, the cosmology is laid out. It says hinakose, and when they're drumming, they hit the hinakuse, and you can make out what is being said on the drums. But the text is hinakose, 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 hinaokose te, ma te kose anansi, ma anansi kose udomankoma, ma udomankoma boadie. And the translation is, who gave word, who gave word, who gave word? Who gave word to the Obosom Tet? For Tet to go and tell the Obosom Anansi. For Anansi to go and tell the Obosom Odomankoma. For Odomankoma to complete or form the world creation. And they're talking about the cosmology. Inyamewa Inyame direct their desires to the divine spokesperson, which is Tehuti, the spokesperson of the divinity, the voice or the mouthpiece of the Supreme Being, the Great Mother and Great Father. Tehuti enunciates the desires of the Supreme Being to the great messenger, herald divinity, which is Anansi, and Anansi carries that message throughout the nation and so forth. And he tells Odomankoma, which is Atim Kopa or Atim Kepra, and Odomankoma fashions and forms and completes the world. So we go into that cosmology a little bit here. The term Ocheyame, or spokesperson in Akan, which is the spokesperson of the king and queen mother, and also the spokesperson of the divinity, Ocheyame. And the Esain is the messenger in Akan. You'll find Ucheme, which is the title of Tehuti in ancient Kemet. It's the same Ocheyame title in Akan. So we go into some detail about that. We talk about the court structure and everything. We don't have to go too much in detail about that here. But the key is, when we engage the divinatory process, we return, go and grasp Sankofa from our Okra, our soul, our divine consciousness, the Ka, the Kaet, the Selido and Eve and Fon, the Ori, Inu and Yoruba, the deity that dwells in your head region. That's a male divinity if you're male, a female divinity if you're female, assigned to dwell with you and guide you throughout the course of your life. Directed to dwell with you by Inyamewa, Inyame, or Amen, the Supreme Being. Pre-incarnation. When you're in the spirit realm, you go to Inyamewa, Inyame, they direct that divinity to install itself in your head region. Just like you have a physical body and a smaller body within your physical body in the head region, which is the brain, which regulates all the functions of the other organs and glands and systems in your body. You have a spirit body, your Sum Sum, But there's a smaller entity within the head region of the spirit body, a deity, which is the Kra, or the Kawa, the Ka. The Ka is the soul, the divine consciousness, the Ori Inu, the Selido. This is called in the different traditions a deity that dwells within you, that you communicate directly with on a regular basis. That divinity has the function you are to execute in creation, the blueprint of what your function in the world is. When you want to know what you need to do, what's in harmony with order, what's out of harmony with order, you're attuned to the deity in your head region. If that communication is fuzzy because you're not aligned ritually and you haven't been engaging in ritual process, you may go to a diviner and they will communicate with that deity that's in the head region and show you externally through divination what the deity has been telling you internally all along that you couldn't hear because you were too distracted. You weren't in alignment. And ritual processes which will allow you to purify yourself so you can open that channel of communication back up so you have a clear channel of communication. Anytime someone is engaged in real divinatory practice, they're divining your Kra, your Krawa, your Ori Inu, your Selido, and whatever Abosom or Ishavo do who are interfacing with that divinity in your head region to assist you. And whatever NANASOM, Samaf, or Egungun, or Kuvito, ancestral spirits that are spiritually cultivated who are assisting you to execute that function that's aligned and written into your crop. So through fwa, scraping, gathering, sensing, smelling, discerning, we are able to fa, to grasp. The gathering, fwa, and the grasping, fa, are related functionally and phonetically. So we're talking about these terms in the language of ancient Kemet. They're also the terms in Akan. So we show the term ka, which means to go and so forth, in ancient Kemet, and we have fa, which means to take or to grasp. We said fwa, FWA, fwa means to scrape together, and then fa also means to grasp in Akan. We show fa in ancient Kemet, means to carry, to bear, to lift up, to get up from sleep, to start a journey, and it shows someone, a male, taking a vessel, grasping it with his hand and putting it on his head. The Akan term fa, meaning to take or to carry, obtain, or grasp, is the same term from ancient Kemet. Fa means grasp. And fwa, 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 means to gather or to scrape, to gather up and so forth. In ancient Kemet, in Akan, is the same fwa, dealing with the nose, which gathers and scrapes up and pulls and draws in and so forth from ancient Kemet. The individual grasping fa and putting the vessel on his head and carrying it upon his head. In the medutu, the head is the seat, or literally the shrine of the Ka. The Ka is the soul, the divine consciousness, the divinity. Your head is a shrine for that deity. Just like your head is a container for the brain, your spiritual head is a shrine that contains the deity that dwells in your head region. It contains our divine function, a blueprint to executing creation. The vessel on the head is the shrine for the Abosom. Divination directs us to this head deity so we can perceive, smell, sense, gather, fwa or fa, and then grasp, take, obtain, fa, what has been written into our soul, divine consciousness. So therefore the term kofa, to go, ko, and fa, grasp or seize, kofa, is thus found in ancient Kemet. So we show in our Akan dictionary, kofa, meaning to fetch or to grasp. It means that because ko means to go and fa means to grasp, so together kofa means to go and grasp. So when we talk about grasping something, we're talking about, we give the whole process. First you go to it, ko, and then you grasp it, fa. So kofa means to go and grasp. That's in Akan. Then in the medutu, the hieroglyphs, you see, they'll spell it kefa because they didn't know the vocalization. They stuck an E between the K and the F, and they put kefa, meaning to seize, to grasp, to capture. It's really kofa. We have the term in Akan, so we can prove the vocalization. It's not kefa, it's kofa. Now, why is that key? For fa meaning to grasp, to scrape, to scratch, to gather, to seize, to grasp, to obtain, to learn, to investigate, and so forth. Now the symbolism of Tehuti gathers all of these variegated notions together holistically. When you look at the image here in the book, this is on page 13, you'll see the habwi bird bent over, and his nose is on the ground, and he's scratching and scraping and so forth with his long beak. And the term gim or gimmi means to find or discover. So the bird is bent over, and he's scratching the ground with his long beak. And gim means to search out, to investigate, to reckon up. It also means to look, to see, to perceive. It also means to weigh, to grasp, to enclose, to bind, and they show the scales. So once again, the bird of Tehuti, they're showing the scales, weighing, grasping, searching, investigating, and so forth. And the bird is bent over doing this. When he's searching, the animal totem of Tehuti is bent over, using his beak to search, investigate, look, perceive, gather, using its finni or spent or font, his nose, beak, in the act of scraping, scratching, sensing, fwa, so that he can grasp, fa, what he is seeking. This is why Tehuti is called font or fent, he of the nose, he who scrapes or scratches. Fwa, in order to grasp, fa, he is scraping, scratching, gathering from what is under the surface. He's using his beak to scratch what's under the surface so he can get to that. What's under the surface of Asase, earth, what is hidden in the spirit realm, what's under the surface of all these behaviors or events, happenstances. We have to scrape or scratch or get under the surface. Use that long nose of that beak, fa or fwa, to scratch what's under the surface so we can get down what's actually happening, what's going on, so we can make a good decision. Tehuti, with that sacred Achinibwa animal totem, using his long beak, his fwa, his nose, his fwa, he of the nose, fwa, to search, to scrape, fwa, so that he can grasp or obtain understanding, fa, scraping, scratching, searching, gathering from what is under the surface of earth, hidden in the spirit realm, to bring it to light. Once he finds what he is looking for, he will kofa, go and grasp. This is why the term san is also instructive. We said san means to return, as in Sankofa, to return, go and grasp. San, the fourth meaning of san, to return, go. But when you look at the first meaning, you see in a dictionary meaning number 1, 2, 3, and 4. In the Akan dictionary, the fourth meaning is to return. And we also show in the medutu, san, with 2 legs walking, to turn back. So just like in Akan, san means to return, to come back. In the medutu, we show san, meaning to turn back. And not only does it mean to turn back, they show 2 legs walking, meaning going back. So it shows the origin. However, the first meaning of san is to draw a line, to make a stroke. Example, with a stick in the sand. And it says, Ore san fam, he is drawing a line on the ground, to mark with a line. Why is that important? Draw a line, make a stroke as with a stick or beak in the sand. Tehuti is Habwi, the crane, with his fwa, his scraping or scratching, is making strokes in Asase, in earth. Tehuti is thus the divine sesh, or scribe, drawing the sacred symbols, the medutu, the adinkra, the veves, in earth, scratching, scraping earth, which carry the tumi of the divine power, the inyansa, wisdom of Inyamewa Inyame. Tehuti is the Habwi bird with the long nose, fwa, or fa, and he's called fa, the divine wisdom. He's scratching or scraping or scribing, fwa, and also sensing or smelling or perceiving, fwa, the nature of what is hidden in order to bring it to light. He is scratching, scraping, drawing lines, strokes, is the function of san. He is seizing and drawing forth the object of his search, like the egg found under the ground and so forth, is the function of kofa. So san is drawing and scratching and scraping. drawing lines, and Fa, scraping, gathering up, and so forth. His strokes are not only the original letters and numbers passed on to us, but are first and foremost the sacred lines, marks, and patterns used in the divination process. So now here's the connection between Tehuti as the divine Hapwi bird, San, meaning to make a line, but also to return back, but to make a line, strokes in the sand or the earth, digging up what's under the earth to get under the surface. He's scratching and scraping, Fa, but he's making those original letters and numbers, so he's the divine Sesha scribe. And of course, the female bird is Seshat. She's a divine female scribe as well. So he's the scribe. He's the first one to scratch and scrape and make those divine marks and draw those divine letters and forms for us, the medutu. But he's first and foremost making those lines or marks for divination in the sand, in the soil, and so forth. He's the divine deity of writing, but also divination, divinatory marks. He of the nose, Fa, or Fa, that grasps. This is the connection between the nose, between the Hapwi bird, between the divination marks, between the grasping, the seizing, and so forth, and the title Fa, as well as San and Sankofa. All within the language of ancient Kemet, all within the language of the Akan as well, and in the symbolism of the bird. This is why we say Sankofa is not merely a description of a process, returning, going, and grasping. It is always and has been first and foremost the name of an Obosom, a deity, the Obosom from whom the process was received by us as Afro-Akaini people. This Obosom is Tehuti. He is called NANASOM in Akan. And we make the distinction between the Mwatia that's called NANASOM that's popular in North America amongst some people who practice what they would consider a form of Akan tradition, so-called Akan tradition, and some people on the continent talking about one of the Mwatia spirits that also has the title NANASOM. We're not talking about that spirit. We're talking about the original deity, Tehuti, Brechiri Hunwate, also called Te, also called Fwa, also called Fwe, also called Sankofa, or NANASOM. And we went through this entire cosmology to prove in various ways that he is Sankofa, including the title itself. Then we say we also recognize the female Obosom of divine wisdom is Seshat, who is also a divine scribe. Sesh means to scribe, and Seshat is the feminine. Excuse me. Her symbol is the female Hapwi bird. So we show an image of Seshat. And we saw it, and her, the way her name is spelled in the medutu. Then we show an image of Tehuti and Seshat together. Male and female, the male force of divine wisdom and divination and writing, the female force of divine wisdom and divination and writing. Tehuti is not superior to Seshat. Seshat is not superior to Tehuti. They're two halves of a complementary whole. Now, Tehuti is Bre, Chiri Hunwate, he who turns back, which is San, meaning turning back, as well as Bre Chiri, to turn back, to see or grasp, Hunu, as well as Kofa, all of creation. The title Bre Chiri Hunwate is the literal definition, cosmologically, of Sankofa. And it's another title of Tehuti in Akan, the omniscient one, so literally meaning he who turns back to see or grasp creation. The Akan Mbramu, or brass gold weight of the Sankofa bird, is shown on top of a sumpie, as it's called in Akan, or a pyramid. These are gold weights that are used to weigh gold dust. Instead of just using little brass weights that are just squares, they would use them in different symbols. They use the Tehuti bird, the Hapwi bird with the long beak, as one of the brass gold weights. But Tehuti is in his Sankofa and Brechiri Hunwate turning back function, looking back. But he's on top of a pyramid. And this is used in the Akan tradition. This demonstrates the preservation of Akan ancestral culture of our geographical and cosmological origins in Kanit and Kemet. Nubia and Egypt prior to our migration to West Africa. This is why these goldways are still showing the Sankofa bird, the Tehuti bird, on top of a stepped pyramid. Now, the next piece, Sankofa bird reaching back. And they show the Sankofa bird turning back, and in his beak is often a little ovular shape, ritually talking about that egg. But functionally, on a mundane level, the Hapui bird reaching back and touching its back and grabbing an ovular structure, that's the bird is preening. Preening. The preening process is one wherein the bird stimulates the uropygeal gland, which uses the secretions, which is preen oil, to purify its body, strengthen and waterproof its feathers, and protect itself from parasites. There's a gland on the back of birds, and when you see them using their beak, it looks like they're simply scratching themselves and they're grabbing a gland. They're preening. And when they grab that gland, preen oil is released, and that preen oil is used to purify the body of the bird, strengthen and waterproof its feathers, and protect itself from parasites. So we give a definition, and we don't have to read through the whole piece, but the uropygeal gland, informally known as the preen gland or the oil gland, is a bilobate sebaceous gland possessed by the majority of birds. It's located dorsally at the base of the tail between the fourth caudal vertebrae and the pygostyle, and is greatly variable in both shape and size. In some species, the opening of the gland has a small tuft of feathers to provide a wick for the preen oil. It is a holocrine gland or holocrine gland enclosed in a connective tissue capsule made up of a glandular acini that deposits their oil secretion into a common collector tube ending in a variable number of pores, openings, mostly two. So it's talking about that little gland structure. It looks kind of like an ovular structure on the back of the bird when they reach back with their beak and start scratching that, releasing the oil and moving that oil through the feathers and cleansing themselves and also protecting themselves from parasites and strengthening and waterproofing their feathers and all of that. That's what they're doing when they're reaching back. They're preening on a mundane level. A bird will typically transfer preen oil to its body during the process by rubbing its beak and head against the gland opening and then rubbing the accumulated oil on the feathers of the body and wings and on the skin of the feet and legs. Tailward areas are usually preened utilizing the beak, although some species use the feet to apply the oil and feathers around the bend. So no different than a cat, cleansing itself with its tongue and cleansing its feathers and fur and so forth. Birds have a different process. They use their beak to penetrate the preening gland, and that preen oil is released, and they cleanse themselves in that way. Now, this natural preening function, the bird looking back, grabbing that ovular structure, is also manifest in the ritual function of adinkra, divination, reaching back to stimulate the energy necessary to purify one's awareness, insight, so that we can see or sense, intuit, learn what is in harmony with divine order, strengthen themselves and protect themselves from disordered spiritual projection from others, parasites. So the same preening function of reaching back, grabbing that gland, purifying yourself, cleansing yourself, protecting yourself from parasites and so forth, ritually through adinkra, divination, you reach back into the spirit realm, the source, stimulate the energy necessary to purify your awareness, insight, and so forth, so that you can see or sense or intuit what's in harmony with order so you can protect yourself from disordered spiritual projections. Parasite. Once again, Tehuti as the great bird with the long beak, preening, reaching back to purify himself, purify awareness. On the spiritual side, divination is reaching back and doing the same thing. So we show the bird reaching back, and then the sacred symbol of the bird reaching back, grabbing the egg. Functionally, on the mundane level, that's the preening oil, but ritually, we're talking about the egg. The symbolism of the Sankofa with the bird looking back and preening, yet also grasping fa, an egg. It is looking back to the past to grasp that which represents the future, the egg, the future birth, the reincarnation of an ancestral spirit, the spirit of the past behind Brechiri, who will now return San to the present and take or seize Fa, the future. We thus have the other popular expression of the Sankofa symbol. This is another piece here, not only dealing with the preening and its relationship to divination that none of the scholars here or on the continent have ever put forward until we published this information. And this information was shown to us by the Obosom and the NANASOM and Samanfo, and they directed us to the evidence, and we published it. So we did not learn this from anyone in Ghana, Ivory Coast, and so forth, or anybody in North America. We got this information directly from them, Samanfo. Then they showed us and directed us to the evidence to prove it, and of course we published it, and therefore people can read it and verify it and go back into the language and the medutu and the gold weights and everything else and verify its irrefutable reality. But it comes directly from the Obosom. When you see the symbol of the Sankofa bird that looks, or the Sankofa symbol, the other Sankofa symbol that looks like a heart structure, in reality is two Sankofa birds reaching back. Now that's key. And those two Sankofa birds are Sankofawaa and Sankofawaa, Tehuti and Seshat. That's something that nobody knew until we put this forward. It is a stylized version of twin Sankofa bird symbols. This is directly derived from the actual region where reincarnation manifests physiologically. And that is the fallopian tubes, and the two fallopian tubes are reaching back and grasping the two ovaries, from which the ova or the eggs will proceed. So we show the fallopian tubes and the ovaries, the two birds reaching back to grasp those two ovaries. Physiologically, the fallopian tubes of the female reproductive system is the sanctuary of the Sankofa process with regard to the return of an ancestress or ancestor to the physical world. The fallopian tubes literally return, san, go, and grasp, kofa, the ovaries. They reach around and grasp the ovaries so that they can receive the ovum, the egg. This is the egg and the beak of the Sankofa bird, the ancestral spirit that the bird is seeking out to grasp and bring to light, to the present, in order to shape the future in a positive manner. The fallopian tubes of the upright woman's reproductive system are governed by the Obosom goddess Het Heru, called Afi in Akan, but she's also called Che in Akan, which is derived from Het Heru in Eshikamet. She's called Oshun in the Yoruba tradition, Azili and Ezuli in Ebe and Fon. She governs the planet Afi Venus, sensuality, union of complementary opposites, fertility, conception, as well as beauty, art, music, dance, and creativity. Her sacred animal totem is the Kaet, the cow, the great mother Obosom goddess. She is the house Het, within which the rebirth, return, reincarnation via conception is initiated. Within the fallopian tubes, that's when the fusion of the sperm and ovum takes place. Her sixth, and that's the house or the Het Heru of that sacred bird that will fly into that area and reincarnation takes place. Her sacred symbol, which is thousands of years old, reflects this reality. Now we show the sacred symbol of Het Heru, her face in the form of the cow and her headdress in the form of the fallopian tubes and so forth. This is the Sankofa symbol in ancient Kemet. We are the first to show this Sankofa symbol in ancient Kemet. Not only are we the first to show the Sankofa symbol in ancient Kemet on one of the sculptures and so forth, but to show the cosmological foundation of who and what it is. And again, once again, it came directly from the Obosom when we were at the Nkombre, the shrine, the Obosom Nkombre, the shrine of the Obosom. They showed us directly that this face of Het Heru as the sacred cow with the headdress in the form of the fallopian tubes is the Sankofa symbol and showed the cosmology. Of course, we prove it in the book. Now we show the sacred cow with the horns. We show the face of Het Heru. We show the uterus and the ovaries and fallopian tubes in the form of the sacred cow. When you look at the head of the cow and the curved horns, it is the exact same form of the uterus and the fallopian tubes grasping the ovaries, which is Het Heru's sacred animal totem, the sacred cow, and so forth. And we show the Sankofa symbol. It is all there. This is on page 19. Then, of course, we show the ancient pre-dynastic sculpture of the great mother goddess. They would say, oh, this is the great bird goddess and so forth, with her two arms up. Actually, that's Het Heru, showing the cow's horns, but the cow's horns curved around are the same fallopian symbol forms and so forth. It's the face of the cow is within the womb of the great mother. This is Het Heru. That particular pre-dynastic sculpture is over 7,000 years old. Manifestations of Het Heru, the sacred Kayat cow, the divine fertile mother. You also find that same symbolism within the great female divinity Bat. The Sankofa process takes place within the sanctuary, the shrine of Het Heru, within the Afro-Akkadian African female body, the fallopian tube structure. And this is why Tehuti and Seshat, twin hobweed birds, are also present, flanking the sycamore tree, the bush of Het Heru, as a spiritual rebirth of the Ainsu, the king. We have Het Heru, the spirit within the sacred sycamore tree, meaning within the bush. The bush, of course, is the hair, the pubic hair of the female. You go into that tree, you see in the symbolism of command, you see the sacred tree of the bush, and then you see Het Heru inside the bush. In the female, the bush is the pubic hair and so forth, but inside the bush is Het Heru. She's within the fallopian tube structure, feeding the spirits of the man and woman. You see the king, the Ainsu, sitting inside the sacred Ished tree or the bush. He's sitting inside the Ished tree in the bush. This is talking about the reincarnation of the king. And you see Tehuti and Seshat, scribes, the two divine scribes, they are in the bush as well, writing the name of the Ainsu, the king, on the leaves of the sacred Ished tree of the bush. The Ished is another sacred tree which is called the tree of life, literally. The Rin, or the Rin, the name of the individual, carries the energy and consciousness of his or her divine function in creation. The deities of divine wisdom inscribe the nature of the reincarnating spirit by concretizing his or her name through the medutu, the symbols which carry that potency. The bush, quote unquote, is a euphemism for the pubic hair of the kayat, the vagina. The vagina is called the kayat, and the cow is called kayat, and that's the sacred animal totem for Het Heru, the gateway to the returning spirit. So we show the Sankofa symbol. Up under that, the twin hobweed birds reaching back. They are the origin of that Sankofa symbol that formed the Sankofa symbol. Under that, we show Tehuti and Seshat and the king inside the sacred bush. This is what you're really looking at here is inside the sacred bush, the pubic hair. You see the spirit of the king that's returning as an ancestral spirit, and Tehuti and Seshat inside the fallopian tubes, dealing with the reincarnation of the spirit and writing his divine function, what he is to execute in the world as he incarnates, as his spirit incarnates and enters into that zygote, that fusion of sperm and ovum. Tehuti and Seshat operating within the sanctuary of the bush of Het Heru, wherein conception takes place. Then we show a stela, the male adorer standing before two hobweed birds, twin hobweed birds, twin quote-unquote ibises. In the context of reincarnation, these are Tehuti and Seshat. Then we show dual Sankofa birds at the shrine of the Obosom in Patakro in the Asante region of Ghana. Most often you'll see one Sankofa bird, often in various depictions and so forth. In this depiction, we show the dual Sankofa birds showing they're in that fallopian tube structure. And next to that, we show dual Sankofa birds or Tehuti text birds and so forth of Tehuti and Seshat from a limestone sunken relief in the early 19th dynasty of ancient Kemet. And then we show the Sankofa symbol from ancient Kemet in a carving, in a sculpture, the Sankofa symbol that you often see in West Africa, and then the Sankofa symbol in a gate from North America, showing that continuity of Akan ancestral religion. We're still using the same Sankofa symbol in Hoodoo in North America that we use in West Africa that we used in ancient Kemet and Kani. So we go into detail about that. Then we show two Habwi birds together, and we go into some detail about that. The final piece here, and we don't have to go through every portion of it, but we just want to touch on this aspect of it. The Abe, the sacred palm tree, is critical with regard to divination, critical with regard to Tehuti and Seshat. So you see Tehuti on the left side, he's holding a palm branch using his, pen to mark the notches of the palm branch, enumerating, measuring, and so forth. On the right side, you see Seshat. She also has the palm branch. She has her writing instrument, and she's enumerating, counting the notches of the palm branch and so forth. Here's the key. Fa, Nkat, or Fa of the divine scales, a god whose body formed the pillar of the great divine scales. Fa, or Pai, Nkat. Nkat means scales. Who is the deity who's the pillar of the divine scales? Whose body forms the pillar of the divine scales. The term Nkat means scales. The deity's name is Fa Nkat, or Fa of the scales. This, once again, is Tehuti, as we'll show. And remember, we showed the Tehuti bird in the form Gem Gem, which means to search or investigate, but it also means to wade, to grasp, to enclose, to bind, and to show scale. These are the scales of balance. This is directly associated with Tehuti as the judge regulating the balancing of the divine scale. He is Fa of the scales, whose body makes up the pillar of the divine scale. Why is that important? Tehuti as Fa of the scale. His body makes up the pillar of the divine scale. If you look at the Vodun tradition, that is important. Fa in Vodun. Palm tree and divination in Vodun. The term Vodou or Voodoo in the languages of Ebe and Fon, people who reside primarily in Togo and Benin. West Africa, the term Vodou means deity, god, or goddess. The religion itself is called Vodun, Voodoo in North America. In the Fon tradition, the male divinity of wisdom is called Fa. He is a divinity. He is a Vodou. This is Font or Fent in ancient Kemet, Font or Fwa in Akan, Fa in Vodun. In the Fon tradition, the Vodou name Gbadu is a female divinity who had 16 eyes. Gbadu was told by Mawu, the great mother of the universe. She's called Amenet in Kemet, Nyamewa in Akan, Mawu in Vodun. The great mother of creation, Mawu, the great mother supreme being, told the goddess Gbadu to live atop of a great divine palm tree in the sky so that she may observe the domains of sky, earth, and sea. When Gbadu sleeps, she cannot open her eyes, her 16 eyes, atop the palm tree. So the Vodou, the deity Legba, the divine messenger, was directed by Mawu, the great mother supreme being, to climb the tree daily, go to the top of the tree where Gbadu is and where her eyes are closed, and open Gbadu's eyes for her. Legba asks Badu which of her eyes she wants open. She's surveying sky, earth, and sea. So he climbs the palm tree. She's on the top. Her 16 eyes are closed. He says, okay, which eyes do you want me to open? Which one should stay closed? Badu either places one palm kernel or two palm kernels in the hand of Legba to communicate to him how many of her eyes should be open based upon what she is observing in the world. What is important is that the palm tree that Badu is sitting atop to survey creation, that palm tree is called Fa. In the Fon tradition, Fa is recognized as the Vodou, the male Vodou of divination and divine wisdom. Badu codifies the divine wisdom of Fa in the various combinations of the opening and closing of her 16 eyes. This is the origin of palm kernels as well as cowrie shells being used as divinatory instruments, and we have these 16 palm nuts, palm kernels, as well as 16 cowrie shells, opening and closing the eyes. We have the same structure in our ancestral culture of Kanit and Kemet, from which the various cultures of West, Central, South, and North Africa are born. In ancient Kemet, the Ntoro, the goddess and god of divine law and balance, are Ma'at and Ma'al. The results of the weighing of the heart against the feather to determine if the heart of the person is light enough, not weighed down by negative, contorted energy of disorder to balance the feather, is codified by Ma'at, that's divine law. Tehuti and Seshat govern divine wisdom. That wisdom is codified into law. How do you apply wisdom? You codify it into law, and those become the rules of the instrument by which you govern your life. The wisdom of the desires of Supreme Being is communicated by Tehuti and Seshat and is codified into law by Ma'an Ma'at. The results of the weighing of the heart, codified by Ma'at. Law is the codification of order. When we see that Ma'at in this mural at the weighing of the heart, she is sitting atop the scales of the divine balance. There's a little picture of Ma'at, an image of Ma'at sitting atop the pillar of the scales of divine balance. Most importantly, she's sitting upon that pillar, as shown previously. The god of the pillar is called Fa Nkat, Fa of the scales, and Ma'at is sitting atop Fa of the scales. So the pillar is called Fa, and Ma'at is sitting on top of Fa, the pillar. That's Fa, Tehuti, and Badu, or Matu, or Mat, the one who codifies the law, is sitting on top of Fa. That's in ancient Kemet, that's in Vodun. That's the palm tree called Fa. That's Ma'at sitting on top. The tree is the staff of Fa. Tehuti, the Ochiame, the pillar of the scales of the balance. Once again, this information, and we show Ma'al and Ma'at, the male and female force of divine wisdom, as well as Tehuti and Seshat. Of course, this information, until we published it, not known by people in Vodun and so forth, they didn't know anything about Fa being the title of the deity whose body makes up the pillar of the divine scales in ancient Kemet, and Ma'at sitting on top of the pillar, which is the exact same representation of Fa being the palm tree itself, and Badu or Matu sitting on top, codifying the divine wisdom in the form of law. Tehuti and Seshat we show them with the palm branches, counting and regulating the time and the seasons in creation. They take note and enumerate the potential years of life of the newly returned, reincarnated spirit of the individual. The enumeration of years and regulation of time, past, present, and future, is the domain of divination. This is why palm kernels, they're using the palm tree, palm branches, Tehuti and Seshat, divine wisdom. The palm tree itself is called Fa. The palm kernels are used in Vodun as divinatory instruments by the divine. This is the sacred plant totem of Tehuti and Seshat in Kemet and Fa in Vodun. Now we go to the Akan tradition, Abe, which is a palm tree in Akan divination. Once again, the palm shows up again. In our Akan tradition, we have further evidence of this reality woven into the fabric of the culture. The term for divine wisdom teaching or proverb is ete. This is wisdom received from the Obosom deities, the embodiments of divine order, preserved by the NANASOM and Sankofawaa, our spiritually cultivated ancestresses and ancestors. The abe is the palm nut. The palm nut from the outside appears to be a simple entity, yet there is a great deal of value contained within the nut, including palm oil, palm juice, other nutrients. Once the nut is opened, one can see the enormous value. An ebe, or proverb, can appear to be a simple saying, yet when properly examined or opened, it contains invaluable lessons born of intergenerational and transcarnational experience. Such experience-based wisdom can totally transform the direction of one's life and the life of the mind and nation when diligently adhered to. The ebe, the proverb, is the product of experience. The abe, or the palm nuts, are the product of the abe, the palm tree. Moreover, the term be is the root of the term bere, or abere, meaning time. The term bere also means place or way or manner. The definitions of time, place, space, or way or manner are inextricably tied to the ritual context. So we have an uncombre. Uncom means spiritual communication. Be, or bere, means time. Bere means space. Bere means manner or way. Uncombre means a spiritual communication. Uncom, place. Bere, place, time. Bere, manner. That's a term for a shrine, where you engage ritual practice or spiritual communication uncombre, in a specific place, in a specific time, in a specific manner. That's why we utilize the term uncombre for shrine. The root of bere, time, is be, which is also the name of the palm tree, abe. The feminine suffix gives it aberewa. The relevance here is that abe, the palm tree, and aberewa, the female, are titles of Tehuti and Seshat in Akan and are directly related to divination. So here's one of the stories, the NANASOM in Akan culture. Excerpt from one of the stories. Quote, they say there was once a woman and that she went to a certain abe, a palm tree, which stood there in the water, that she might consult it about childbearing. And when she went, abe, the palm tree, said, I shall give you what you want, but the child with whom I shall present you when he rises up will never do any work. And the woman said, I agree to that. It was not 2 days, it was not 3 days when she conceived and gave birth. Here in our Akan tradition, you have a woman going to consult with abe, the palm tree, because she desired to become fertile and give birth to a child. Abe, the palm tree, granted her desire and then gave instructions regarding how the child is to be raised. This consultation with related instructions is divination, with the Obosom abe, a title of Tehuti, operating in as the palm tree. Note that abe or be is the root of bere, which means time, but it's also contracted bere or bre, and the title of Tehuti, bre, chiri hunuate, the title of Tehuti, returning, going back in time, be or bre. We thus have the palm tree connected to the Obosom, divine wisdom and divination in ancient Kemet and Kanat. In our Akan culture, abe is also here assisting the childbirth, the return son of an ancestral spirit to be reincarnated, reborn into the world. This is Sankofa. And then we also have legislative matters. Akan people work to achieve a consensus. When deliberations reach an impasse, a certain delegation of NANASOM Mpanyinfo, spiritually cultivated ancestors, elders and eldresses, living elders and eldresses are Mpanyinfo, Nsamanfo are ancestresses and ancestors, but the honored elders and eldresses who are living in the community are NANASOM Mpanyinfo. If there's an impasse in deliberations, a certain delegation of them leaves the deliberations. They say, Yekobisa Aberewa, which means we are going to consult the elder woman. This is a euphemism for doing divination with Aberewa. So Abere or Abe is Tehuti, operating through the palm tree, divinity of wisdom. Aberewa is the female divinity. This is Seshat, the elder mother goddess divinity. Abisa means divination. Kopisa means to go and ask and inquire and so forth. So we go into some detail about that. We relate a story in ancient Kemet talking about the elder mother goddess Neat, when she was consulted when they were trying to determine who was supposed to receive the inheritance of Alsar. Should it be Set or should it be Heru? When there was an impasse, Ra directed Tehuti to go consult with the great elder mother divinity Neat for a resolution. Now, Akan tradition, when we reach an impasse with regard to deliberations, a certain delegation goes out, leaves the deliberations, and Yeko Bisa Aberiwa. We are going to consult the great elder woman, talking about Aberiwa, talking about Seshat. We're going to divine, and whatever her judgment is, that's the law. And we also show here, we go into some more detail. Aberiwa is comprised of bere, meaning time, also meaning ripe, age, aged, and referencing a person. We go into some detail about that. Bereo also is a term for palm oil leaves, palm branches, and so forth. So we show all these connections, and then we show the headdress of Seshat is the palm tree. She's not only holding the palm branch and enumerating the lives, the years of life of the individual, and so forth, but she has the palm tree on her head as a headdress. Some fools will try to say this is a cannabis leaf, which is pure stupidity. This is the palm tree because she's the divinity animating, the female divinity animating the palm tree, because the palm tree is directly connected to divination, as we've shown. The Ebe, the proverbial wisdom, comes from the Abe, the palm tree, and the Abe is on the male side is the tree of divination. It's a form of Tehuti. On the female side is Aberewa. It's the same thing in Vodun. Fa is the palm tree upon which Badu sits. And then we get into the Yoruba tradition. We're talking about the same thing. This is why the palm tree has a cosmological function. This is why the palm tree is on the head of Seshat. And we show the palm tree and show her headdress. Okay, and we're going into some more detail about some of that information. So Sankofa is the title of Tehuti. Sankofawaa is the title of Seshat, or Sankofawaa, and so forth. Het Heru is the sanctuary within which that Sankofa process and the deity Sankofa and Sankofawaa monitor that reincarnation of an ancestor or ancestress within the fallopian tubes and the conception process. So, undergirding the male and female functions of the reincarnation process within the procreative sanctuary of Het Heru is the drawing into the womb of a specific female and or male ancestresses or ancestors to be reborn. So Tehuti and Seshat, Abe and Aberewa, know which ancestresses and ancestors are to return and what spirit genetic qualities they are to inherit or draw from and manifest in their phenotypes, spiritual disposition, character, physical attributes, etc. Abe and Aberewa thus regulate the proper time, bere, womb, space, clan, bere, and manner, bere, in which the Afurakani ancestor or Afurakani ancestress reincarnate. This is how Tehuti, Seshat, and Het Heru work together in the male epididymis and ultimately the female fallopian tube structure, because it's in the female that the conception takes place. The fallopian tube structure in the female is replicated at the epididymis in the male, but the sperm cells leave the male and the conception can only take place within the sanctuary of Het Heru. This is why Het Heru is shown as that dual Sankofa bird symbol, the fallopian tubes structure is her sanctuary, and then Tehuti and Seshat as the two Hapui birds operate within that sanctuary for the reincarnation process. And then, of course, in Yoruba, Ifa, palm nuts in Yoruba divination and Ifa divination, the 16 Ikin, or palm nuts, are used in Ifa divination. In the Yoruba language, the term Fa means to scrape, It can also mean to shave, clean, or wipe. A related definition is to pull, draw, or lead. We thus have the Orisha of Divine Wisdom and Divination called Ifa, which also means to scrape, just as Fa and Fa means to smell and also to scrape in the language of Akan and ancient Kemet. In the practice of Ifa divination, the markings or lines are drawn by the diviner in the Yerosun or divination powder upon the Oponifa, the divination tray. These markings or lines, remember, san means markings or lines. The Tehuti bird, the hobby bird, is bending over, scraping, scratching, drawing lines, drawing those divinatory marks in the sand or in the soil. The exact same thing is happening with Fa, which is Fa in ancient Kemet, the title of Tehuti, Fa in Yoruba. The Yerosun is the original sand or soil that the beak or the nose, the Fa of the deity, Fa, is scratching or scraping, and then the Ikin or palm nuts are scraped up or grabbed up, Fa, in the process of Ifa divination. And we go into detail about that. So Orumila is Ifa. He's called Fa or Tehuti in ancient Kemet. We also take note of the fact that in Yoruba, the term Kofa literally means to study Ifa. So we go into some more detail about that. We talk about his function as an Eleri Ipin, or the witness of destiny, and so forth, the same function across the board. And there's one other piece. We talk about Het Heru and Tehuti. We show a connection between Het Heru and Tehuti. We show them sitting together in ancient Kemet. That's Oshun and Orumila. And this is why there's an association of Oshun and Orumila, and it's in the essay 5 and so forth. They're talking about divination and Oshun being the first to practice divination. There's a relationship and a marriage between Orumila and Oshun and the coming into being of Erin di Logun, or 16-carat divination. So we go into some detail about that as well. We also show Kofa, meaning capturer, a title. Kofa being a group of deities in the language of ancient Kemet. So Kofa means to study. Ifa in Yoruba, the term Kofa means to go and grasp. When you're studying, you're grasping, the operationalizing of study. Kofa means to seize, to grasp. That's not only understanding, but also seizing in the language of ancient Kemet. You're also talking about seizing, grasping what needs to be grasped so you can overcome obstacles. Divination leads to overcoming obstacles. That means you can also seize and grasp your enemies. Healing ourselves, killing our enemies. Divination leads to understanding who's in harmony with order, what's out of harmony with order, and eradicating the enemies. We show Tehuti seizing or grasping in his Kofa function the enemies. They're tied up, their arms and legs are tied up, and he's holding them, grasping them, so that Heru can stab them to death. We have a text from ancient Kemet. We quote from the text of Pepi, one of the pyramid texts. The oldest religious compositions in existence yet on earth are the pyramid texts. We read from one of the pyramid texts talking about the king Pepi. He's being addressed, showing that he is being given power, protection, and dominion over various aspects of creation by the Obosom as he functions in partnership with the Obosom Asar. This is what the pyramid texts say. As Pepi made his transition. He's become a colleague with the other divinities, and he's being given dominion and power in partnership with Asar. This is what the text says. Heaven is to you, the earth is to you, the spirit realm, Het Heru, is to you. The domains of Heru are to you. The domains of Set are to you. The cities are to you. And the deity Atem has gathered together for you the regions of Kemet, so he can rule. The earth deity Geb, the father of Asar, has spoken concerning it. Here's the key portion of the text. Tehuti grinds his knife and sharpens his knife and crushes in heads and cuts open chests. He crushes heads and cuts open the chests of those who attack this Pepi when he is journeying to you, O Asar. He breaks the heads of those who would repel this Pepi when he is journeying to you, O Asar, that you may give him life and serenity. That means the deity of divine wisdom is also a divine killer. As we have shown in our book, Madanechi, Divine Law, Love, and Divine Hate, Tehuti and Seshat are the governor and governess of the expansive and contractive poles of Inyamsa wisdom. The expansive pole of wisdom is revolution. The contractive pole of wisdom is resolution. Revolution and resolution are two halves of the divine whole of wisdom governed by Tehuti and Seshat. To revolve is to return back to the source, draw wisdom from experience, and then utilize that wisdom to resolve or vindicate your condition. This is the goal of divination. Tehuti grinds his knife. He cuts open his chest, crushes heads, and so forth to show what is in harmony with divine order and to eradicate disorder for the preservation of the integrity of the divine order. Tehuti, with his great beak, searches, but he also kills noxious serpents. He's a divine protector. Divine wisdom is the ultimate protection against disorder. When you align with divine wisdom, you stamp out disorder. Tehuti, with the title Kofa, is the one who captures or seizes, not only captures wisdom and intelligence, but captures the enemy and holds them so they can be exterminated. That's divine hate in action. Now, we only have 3 more minutes left in the broadcast online. If you want to listen beyond 11 o'clock, you must log in or call in, and the call-in number is on the page, or else it'll cut off at 11 o'clock in about 2.5 minutes. So you would have to get on the phone line, 646-787-8155, 646-787-8155. We've got about 2 minutes to call in. People who are just listening online, it will cut off at 11. Those who are on the phone line, you will be able to hear beyond 11. We're not going to go much beyond 11. So, in fact, that's really what we wanted to cover. What we also want to say is that, and we've had a couple of questions about this, we posted a link, a couple of spaces in our upcoming Hapi Merit Hibernation Training, Cultural, and Ritual Retreat, which is on the Gullah Island, Edistu Island in South Carolina, February 16th through the 19th, that weekend. We had closed registration, but we had a few spaces open up because of last-minute cancellations. So for those of you who would like to attend the retreat, you must register ASAP as soon as possible. Go to our Hapi Merit page. These have to be first come, first serve. We can't just set aside and say, oh, okay, we're going to have a space for you, because those who are ready to register, that would not be fair to them. And we have had situations where we set aside a space for somebody, and then other people were turned away, and then by the time it was time for the event to happen, the people canceled, and therefore nobody took the space. So if you would like to register for the retreat, and we'll be dealing with Oberima, Afrikani manhood, Obatai, Afrikani womanhood. I'll be doing the Oberima training. Dr. Iya Adu will be doing the Obatai, Afrikani womanhood training. We'll also be doing the Patata Septem training. There's also a vacation on the Gullah Islands where our people preserve their ancestral culture, and you can tour the Gullah Islands as well. So we'll have sessions in the morning and afternoon, and then people can visit, tour the island and so forth and do whatever they would like to do and have a vacation on Gullah Island, on one of the Gullah Islands. So go to the Hapi Merit page, ASAP. It is first come, first serve. We only have 4 spaces left that opened up. As soon as those are taken, then registration is closed. So you can do that. We want to say Yedase, thank you for tuning into the broadcast. For those who would like to purchase our books, go to our website. Also, the Sankofa book, as well as all of our 29 books, are free downloads, but we do ask that people, if you appreciate the information in the Sankofa book that we've gone over tonight, when you look on that page, you will see that we have our donation button there. Of course, the ebook version is a free download. We have about 4,000 downloads of our books on a monthly basis, the free books. Everybody does not have funds to purchase a book, but we're not going to hold information ransom. People purchase the soft covers. They range between $8 and $11. And, we have discounts as well. But if you would like to support the work we're doing, if you appreciate it, simply go to the page. You can make a contribution right there. If you downloaded the book, if you like the book, we've had at least over 1,000 downloads of the Sankofa book since we published it back in September. If you appreciate the information in the book, any donation is fine. You can go there right now on the Sankofa page, a $5 donation, $8 or whatever. Or if you would like the softcover book, of course, we can send that to you as well. You can purchase that book or any one of the other 29 books. This allows us to continue to give away the books for free. Whenever we do presentations in any city, they're always free to the Afro-Akani community. And we also give away a free copy of one of our softcover books to everyone who attends the event. So we've given away over 1,500 softcover books for free at our various events over the past couple of years and so forth in different cities. Our events, our conferences and so forth are always free to the community. So if we get free books and free presentations, we don't charge for that. So, but in order to continue to be able to do that, we do need the support. So if you would like to purchase a book before you forget, because we're always on social media, and the next time we see something and we go, next thing you know, we're looking on timelines and stuff like that. So before you forget, you can go to the page right now, the Sankofa Tehuti page on the website or the publications page. Any donation is fine. We appreciate it because that allows us to do what we're continuing to do, whether it's the broadcast, the books, and so forth. And that will also help us with the retreat as well as our upcoming film. You'll see the documentary film trailer. We're still working on that as well. We had some setbacks with regards to starting that process and finishing the production process and all of that, because we're still raising funds for that. So you'll see all of that information on the page. So go to the Sankofa page. If you like tonight's presentation, support the work. It takes about 2 or 3 minutes to make a donation on the page or make a purchase of the books on the Unhoma page, and we appreciate that. And yet I say for those who are going to the page right now. So yet I say we thank you for tuning in to the broadcast, and Yebe Shabio, we will meet again. That's it.